Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the channel. Today for your viewing pleasure, I have a PA15 that is, I would say, loosely Mark 18 Mod 0 inspired. Truthfully, there's nothing clone correct about this at all, but functionally, it's very similar. So this is a 10.5, you know, a true Mark 18 being a 10.3. I assume they did that just to give it a little bit more dwell time for gassing and maybe just a little bit less parts wear. These systems in general are very violent and they're hard on, you know, bolt carriers, and they wear very hard on the guns themselves. So you could have breakages sooner, but the trade-off is you get something much more maneuverable for vehicle work, you know, urban areas, things of that nature, you know, your house, things like that. So straight off the bat, initially when I first shot it, took it out to the range and shot it, it gave me symptoms of short stroking, like failure to lock on the last round, and failure to pick up, and, you know, failure to feed out of a mag where it would just skip over the bolt. And I was a little concerned. I took it home, cleaned it, oiled it, kind of went through, looked over it, made sure everything was right, and I took it back out to the range to shoot it, and it's been 100% ever since. So I'm not really sure what that was about, either contact surfaces mating, or, you know, maybe the spring just needed to loosen up a little bit. I'm not exactly sure, but it's been 100% ever since then. Let's see, as you can see, I've rattle canned it. Gave it an interesting effect, which you know, little. It's just been rattle canned. I bought this from PSA. I tried my best to leave it as original as possible, to try to get, you know, I kind of want to shake it down and see how something like this that I know is violent on the parts. I wanted to see what they could stand up to over time. You know, how far can the bolt go before there's a breakage and things like that. But something I want to talk about is the gassing, right? So to my knowledge, PSA is using on the 10.5 barrels a 0.076 gas port. So it's not overly gassed. Actually, it's gassed, in my opinion, just right. So it ejects at roughly 4 o'clock, 4:30 using steel case ammunition, M193, like a full power M193. It ejects probably 330, maybe 4, and then using like M855 and other loads, at like full power loads, it ejects like dead on at 3 o'clock. So truthfully, this thing is gassed really, really well. It hits all the bases in terms of that. I'm not sure how it would do suppressed. If I had to guess, you probably would be over gassing it at that point. But they did a really, really good job selecting the gas port size for something like this. It's not too violent. You know, it's not a 0.8 or in some cases larger that just beats them to death. So I'll be curious to see what kind of lifespan I get out of these parts in here and things of that nature. I did change this to keep an extra firing pin retainer and bolt, a complete bolt, because and that's typical of anything that's this short. You're gonna go through parts much faster. And so I basically just changed out the handguard on it, put a quad rail, and then a rear sight, obviously the optics. But other than that, it came with the Shockwave brace. Try to think. So accuracy wise, I haven't done a ton of accuracy testing on it, but I was able to hit a 12-inch plate at 350 yards using just 55 M193, you know, not match ammo or anything like that. I'm sure you could probably squeeze some decent groups out of this, actually, considering what it is. And that is one of the upsides of a nitride barrel over a chrome line, would be you're gonna get a little more accuracy out of it. Truthfully though, most of my barrels are chrome lined, but I don't have an issue with this. And down the road, you'll see this will go through probably a couple iterations where after I put a bunch of rounds on it, I'll either chop the block and free float the rail, or just rebarrel it. We'll see, because I'd like to see how long the barrel goes before it starts. I don't know if I'll be able to shoot until it starts keyholing. I think that's a little unrealistic. That's, you know, that's probably 8,000, 10,000 rounds. I mean, honestly, I have no idea. But once it starts to lose its accuracy some, and I kind of get tired of it or whatever, then I'll look and say, okay, I'll put something else on here. But this is what I would consider the working man's Mark 18, right? This This obviously being not a true Mark 18, but this is reasonably priced to where somebody can go out and actually affordably purchase this. I think this was on sale for $530 at the time, something like that. And so that's a lot more in reach of you know, just normal people than, you know, dropping $2,000 on a Daniel or something of that nature. And so for a little over 500 bucks out of the box, you get a pretty solid weapon. The fit and finish overall, before I sprayed it, it was fine. In fact, the fitment of the upper and lower is a tighter fit than even some of my much nicer rifles, which makes me giggle a little bit. And if I'm being honest, because if they can hit it, why can't, you know, other large manufacturers, you know, like top tier manufacturers? And it's not a big deal. It doesn't affect the actual, it really doesn't affect anything. It's just my preference. I prefer not a lot of slop in an upper and lower. Howdy. That's interesting. Anyway, so going back to it though, I replaced the trigger. I put a LaRue MBT in this, which are my go-to triggers. I would put them in the same ballpark as the Geisley triggers, but much less. They just don't cost as much. So I really like LaRue MBT, so I threw that in here just to give it something a little bit of cleaner break. The original mil spec one was fine. I'm sure there's nothing wrong with it. It's just my preference. This is what I prefer to pull a trigger on. It comes with a KAK Shockwave buffer tube, which is designed so you can't put a stock on it. It works in conjunction with a KAK blade, as you can see. So it's smooth. You can't mount a traditional stock on it. I'm assuming that was done intentionally by KAK. Trying to think of what else about it. And honestly, this is the first PSA AR that I've gotten to spend a decent bit of time with. It's fun. It runs. It does everything you want it to. It's fairly accurate actually for just shooting 55 grainers. Like it's fine, and it's just a ball to shoot. Truthfully, I would recommend anything like this to really anybody. If like people, so the thing is something over the years I've learned after pouring money into builds and really high-end materials and stuff. It boils down to your bullets in your barrel, if I'm being honest with you. And so if you have something that is reliable, you're far better off shooting something, putting 2,000 rounds or whatever through a rifle you can afford, than buying something really high end and putting 100 rounds through it and letting it sit in the safe. You are much better off as a shooter and, you know, whatever you consider yourself, prepared citizen. I would much rather you buy something like a product like PSA or any of those that, as long as it's reliable, it functions reliably, like you're good, you know what I mean? The PA-15 Shockwave pistol.